So we're gonna be talking about a keto-based diet and how it may lead to depression or other low mood symptoms in people, but also give you the why. Because I know it does not happen for everyone, which is why I'm not necessarily saying that a keto diet or at least a cyclical keto diet may not work for you. Welcome back, everybody. Great to be here with you. Excited to get into today's topic. Again, I always want to bring you topics, not necessarily promoting one diet or talking down about another, but always the reason why. So for those that don't know too much about a keto-based diet, just a 1-minute recap on that. Essentially, you're following a diet that's mainly about 70% protein, 70% fat, 20% protein, and about 5 to 10% maximum carbohydrates. It could even be as high as 80 to 90% fat with 10 to 20% protein and 0 to 5% carbohydrates. Carbohydrates in general are hard to completely eliminate, and that's why it's typically around 5% or so. You're not eating them necessarily, but they can be inadvertently consumed in other ways. What I would say is this, though. A lot of people are following a keto-based diet because they want to improve their weight loss, they want to improve their overall digestion, they want to improve their skin health, they want to improve their brain clarity. There are many reasons why people choose a keto-based diet. Sometimes there's cancer-based reasons, etc. So what I don't want to do is necessarily say you can never do a keto diet. What I want to share with you, though, is that a long-term keto diet, and what we've seen in our practice, absolutely can and often does affect your hormone levels, specifically progesterone in women, creating potential estrogen dominance, which are the symptoms of bloating or low mood, fatigue, brain fog, and oftentimes adult-based acne. Now, we can also see it begin to lower thyroid over time. So TSH goes up and active T3 goes down. Typically, it's not right away on a keto diet. It's somewhere like 4 to 6 weeks later, especially in women, not necessarily in men. And we often see it, again, begin to shrink the gut microbiome. So if you're not feeding the bacteria in your gut good quality carbohydrates, it begins to shrink the total gut microbiome. This is also why it can provide relief, though, for a lot of people with digestive issues, because the actual root cause of their bloating and their gas and their maybe autoimmune and other issues was actually bacterial overgrowth. So they went on a keto or low-carb diet, they shrank their gut microbiome, and then it led to an improvement in overall inflammation. Again, it's not the best way, because if they ever eat carbs again, it's going to start to grow back up. So they actually want to look at a deeper level, in my opinion, and actually fix the underlying root cause. It's also challenging because if you go on a keto-based diet and you do it for weight loss, if you start integrating back into carbohydrates, well, when you eat carbohydrates, you begin to hold more water as well. Not necessarily a bad way, but you will start to gain some of the weight back. So there's some difficulties with having to stay on a keto-based diet for the rest of your life, besides the fact, and I've gone through this before in high performance health, that it does seem to create a greater all-cause mortality, which means that the likelihood that you live a long, healthy life, it absolutely goes down on a high-fat diet. That's just the way that it is. Again, I'm not denigrating fat. I think healthy fat is healthy fat. It's good for you, and we all need it, but I think we can absolutely go overboard. So again, cyclical keto would be like being on it for 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks. Like that could make sense in certain situations, and we certainly do that in a roundabout kind of way on our functional medicine detox, as well as the first phase of our fat velocity-based system. So I just wanted to share that with you, just as a quick synopsis on keto. Again, there's many proponents of them. What I don't like to do is look at, a diet as religion. I want us to be able to debate about it. I like to go back and forth. I see the pros of keto. I also see the cons of keto, especially since I do so much lab testing. Remember, we've run hundreds of thousands of lab tests, like close to 500 million labs. So we have a ton of lab data. And I just want you to know that some people are affected. And my job is to look out for the people that are forgotten about, that are pushed off in the fringe. If the keto diet didn't work for you, you did something wrong. And that's not the case. Like, not everything works for every individual. Like, we have to take into consideration certain ApoE genotypes, certain genetics, male and female gut microbiome, and hormones. Like, all of those things do matter. They really do. But what I wanted to share with you here today, and it's pretty straightforward, is that when you're on a keto diet, which basically just means low carb. So when you're on a low carb diet, you begin to actually decrease the amount of certain neurotransmitters you produce. Now, in terms of reducing then seizures, like from epilepsy, they've actually found that a low-carb diet can reduce seizures with epilepsy. Now, that tells me there could be, without a doubt, a microbiome and gut-based issue with people that have seizures. I'd at least look into that. I would look into heavy metals. I would look into a few other things, but that's worth looking into. The other thing, though, is that, okay, it can work for something, but that doesn't mean that it works for everything, okay? So when we look at people, especially that are susceptible to seasonal affective disorder or low mood or depression, going on a low-carb diet initially may feel great. A maybe cessation or decrease in inflammation, but over the long term, two neurotransmitters begin to drop. One is dopamine. Dopamine is the reward, the pleasure center-based neurotransmitter. It gives us a lot of our ambition, a lot of our drive, a lot of our get up and go, energy in the morning, and because we want to accomplish our goals. That's dopamine, right? We get after it in life. That's dopamine. Serotonin is our antidepressive neurotransmitter, right? So that's our happy, feel-good neurotransmitter. And that is the one that when people are typically, they're diagnosed with depression, they're taking something like a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. So that actually in and of itself is telling you what it does. It selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It stops serotonin not from being used by the body, but from being uptaken by the cells, the neuron that isn't used. So it keeps it in what's called the synaptic cleft. There's this area essentially between neurons that are going to transmit neurotransmitter between each other, from neuron to neuron. It's basically like these octopus-looking things that send sparks from one to the other that are sending the signal for more serotonin to be able to be brought to, let's say, the brain. Well, the problem is that not only does a low-carb diet oftentimes reduce what are called biogenic amines like dopamine and serotonin, so less production, but also it stops tryptophan oftentimes from being able to cross the blood-brain barrier. So that means that we've got tryptophan to 5-hydroxytryptophan to then serotonin to then what's another hormone called melatonin. And that's how the process works. Now, it uses selenium, it uses B6, uses a lot of different vitamins along the way, but that's essentially how it moves through the body. And what happens is if the gut is imbalanced and we're on a low carb, we're producing less serotonin and then we're allowing less to cross the blood-brain barrier. So I just share this with you because if you're on a low carb diet, and you're starting to feel lower mood, or you're starting to feel a little bit more groggy in the morning, less get up and go, it could be that you're producing less of these neurotransmitters. And for you, that this just isn't the right diet for you. If your goal is weight loss, if your goal is to fix the gut, if your goal is to fix autoimmune, if your goal is to fix skin conditions or migraines or inflammation, whatever it is, there is a way to find that underlying root cause. I always recommend that people run the Big 5 labs. The Big 5 labs are what look at food sensitivities and gut health and hormones and heavy metals and mineral levels and vitamin levels and all that good stuff. That's what it looks at. And you can run that with your local integrative health practitioner, level 2. You can run it with a local naturopathic doctor. You can run it with our team over at Equilife, whatever works for you. So that's the thing, like these labs can be gotten by anybody. They can be run right at home. So what we're trying to do is open source real healthcare, in my opinion. That's what it really is all about, finding underlying root cause. Now, there's one more point that I want to add to this today, and it's that a low-carb diet, though, can actually increase norepinephrine. So now, let's say you're someone that's doing cold plunges and you're doing low-carb keto, you can actually get the spike in stress hormones, which is norepinephrine, right, or cortisol, and you get the lowering then of dopamine and serotonin. So you can feel basically tired and wired. You can be stressed and ready to go, but not be able to sleep, lower mood, more irritability, more overwhelm. If that sounds like you and you're on a low carb diet, I wanted to do this show for you. So hopefully this information was helpful. And again, you don't have to just start adding back in tons of carbs to your diet. You can begin to just add a little bit, just even like literally 1 cup of berries a day is where you can start. You can kind of work your way up from there. We have lots of protocols on this. Happy to help in any way that I can. Again, I want to serve those people that are even on the fringe, that aren't getting the results that they thought they would get, and give you the reason why. If the show was helpful, do feel free to share it with anyone else you believe it could serve. Take care, everybody. Every single day, I'm back with a brand new Cabral concept. Tune back in tomorrow. Take care. Have an amazing day. Thanks so much for tuning into today's show. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I want to make sure that you're getting our daily content, not missing out on anything functional medicine, wellness, weight gain, weight loss, anti-aging, living longer, stronger, and all of the most cutting-edge research. And if there's any topics you want to hear, feel free to leave them in the comments below. Take care.